Okay, so I'm here in Coopersburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm at the workshop studio of Paul Manganaro, who is an expert on this idiom, piano rolls, player pianos. He has many others here, but I'm here to look at his Bush and Lane. And I've asked Paul if he could give a little bit of a history of the instrument and what it does, both technically and otherwise.
Sure, this is 1912 Bush and Lane, and it's all book-matched walnut, and including the spool and the player mechanism. And this piano was made to stand in the middle of a room, so the back of the piano, three sides of the post, as well as the back of the piano, is also veneered. And Bush and Lane had Sicilian player mechanisms, but for 1 year or 6 months they produced pianos with the double valve deluxe mechanism, which is what this is. I've seen 3 other pianos identical to this.
Is there any possibility you could pull that screen back any further? I guess not, no.
This door?
Yeah, the door.
You go the other way.
Oh yeah, that might show a little bit of what you're describing. So is this the deluxe action or what?
Typical deluxe action. They have these molded frames, and they have an extra crank in the crankshaft here so that your valves work off of separate cams.
And what's the advantage of that?
It's just a little higher function, because all the other ones, I shouldn't say earlier, they have one cam, and the valves work off of the same crank as the pneumatic for that valve.
So what does that translate to in terms of the performance of the piano roll?
Well, it's supposed to make it a little smoother, but it just shows, it's more of an indicator that it's a higher quality piano that they put a little extra into.
Yeah, so it's partially it's marketing, but partially there's some advantage technically with this machine.
Yes.
Here. Okay, all right, so, you know, one of the things I noticed about the spool box is how beautifully finished off the roll take-up spool is.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, this is just, I've never seen anything like this.
No, I've owned this for over 30 years, and I wanted the best player piano I could find for myself. So I went through a lot of trouble to buy this, and I had to beg somebody to sell it to me unrestored.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I sent the piano to the refinisher I used to use. He passed away last year, Bob Picard. He was the finest refinisher in the New York area. And I sent the piano back out to a firm in Bergen County who restrung it. But it had a perfect board. It didn't need any shimming.
Yeah, I wondered about, have you looked at the board recently? You probably have.
No, I can't move the piano.
Obviously not. Yeah. Now, what is the climate like down here in the basement?
It's pretty humidity controlled.
You do?
Yes. Not within 2 degrees, but within 10.
Yes,
say.
That's about the best you can hope for, I think. Yeah. Okay. So, can you give the rundown on how what its capabilities in terms of playback for piano rolls is, the levers and
well, this is the deluxe setup for your levers. It's a typical play rewind and tempo, and this is for the early rolls that had markings on them that for retard and accelerate, and this automatically returns to the middle position, which is neutral.
Okay, how sensitive do you feel that control is?
I end up using the tempo.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, right. Do you think that they included this in order to be competitive with a Metro-style thematist, or is it just?
I wouldn't know about competing, but I know the early rolls have these markings,
I know they do.
And I'm sure homeowners who aren't sophisticated musically would definitely rely on this lever.
I see. Okay.
This is a curious button.
Yes, I've seen them on the Cunningham.
This is basically a fast forward button. I have only used it to avoid like a song in a medley roll. I don't know what other purpose it could serve, but it shuts off the stack and speeds up the air motor. And then these are your typical, bass and treble, soft.
Yes.
And I've added an extra level on each one so that you get very, very soft when you go down a little further.
I love that. I love that because it's it seems just the on-off business it's not very refined, and that is the advantage of having those little tweezer things. You can at least, but in this case you fixed it so you could have some of that effect. Okay, and then
your sustain pedal.
Yeah. Okay.
I like to play I'll just play a few chords on the piano
Yeah.
just to show you it's a great instrument.
It's truly, the hammers need to be replaced. We know that, and maybe there's more that would have to be done on it. However, as it stands, it's the most amazing upright I've ever heard. It just has tons of sound.
I'm going to play a rare roll. This is
Okay.
the only copy. It has been recopied. Thanks to Randy Herr, actually. Borrowed it without my knowledge one day.
I'm familiar with that phenomenon.
Yes, Randy was a lovable character. But this is Fizz Water. It's played by U.B. Blake.
Okay.
And these are little 10-cent rolls that it's amazing that any of them lasted. But this is a hand-played roll.
Thank you, Paul. That was lovely, and your pianolizing is very interesting, and it shows what this instrument can do. So, do you have any other comments about this instrument that might be of interest to people to know about?
No, I think that about covers it for me.
Well, it's great. It's a wonderful thing, and it should be kept and preserved and used.